Hey, what's up, everyone? I want to welcome you guys to another episode of Here's What I Think with your host, Charles Stabantu, where we discuss everything from current events, economics, politics, and how it all relates to business and life. And today we have a hell of a show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So let's get into today's topic. Now, all hell broke loose this weekend when Ann Seltzer released a poll that had Donald Trump trailing in Iowa. And everyone lost their mind. I actually want to read from the report here that we're getting from the Des Moines-Register.com. And it says, Iowa poll, Kamala Harris leapfrogs Donald Trump to take lead near Election Day. Here's how. Then continues on. Kamala Harris now leads Donald Trump in Iowa, a startling reversal for Democrats and Republicans who have all but written off the state's presidential contest as a certain Trump victory. A new poll shows Vice President Harris leading former President Trump 47% to 44% among likely voters just a day before high-stakes elections that appears deadlocked in key battleground states. The results follow a September Iowa poll that showed Donald Trump with a 4-point lead over Harris and a June Iowa poll showing him with an 18-point lead over Democrat President Joe Biden, who was presumed Democratic nominee at the time. It's hard for anybody to say they saw this coming, said Ann Seltzer. She has clearly leaped into a leading position. And I just want to quickly show you this graphic. It says Harris leads Trump among likely Iowa voters. Likely voters in Iowa asked, if the general election were held today and the candidate for president were Kamala Harris for the Democrats, Donald Trump for the Republicans, whom would you vote for? If you've already voted, whom did you vote for? Out of the people that they polled, 47% of them said Kamala Harris, 47% said Donald Trump. It was these polls that a lot of people were basically losing their minds about all over media. So what happened? This morning I woke up and I came across an audio of Donald Trump, who was actually campaigning just this Sunday. And he was reacting to this particular poll, and he was calling out the pollster for basically putting out misinformation and trying to sway public opinion. So for those of you who didn't hear what Donald Trump had to say in response to this poll, I want to play what he had to say for you now, and then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to what Donald Trump had to say there.
Well, there's a lot of spirit here, you know. And we even have the polls up, but I think it's much more than the polls. No, the polls, I'm telling you, you can make those suckers sing. You get the right pollster, you can do, and you really do inflict damage, you know, when you do like this person from Iowa. Today, the election essentially is really, we're talking Turkey, comes out with a poll different from every other poll because it wasn't even in question. It's really the opposite way. I'm way up. If you look at 3-4 months ago, Dan, I was losing states that now are walks. You know, they're now walks, and I think you could have that here. It's called suppression. They suppress, and it actually should be illegal because it's, in many ways, it's worse than the written word, which these guys do quite well, actually. But it's now or never. This is it. This is the moment. We've been waiting 9 years for this, and we got 2 days, and we got all this crap going on with the press and with the fake stuff and fake polls. And by the way, the polls are just as corrupt as some of the writers back there. They can make those polls sing. They can make them sing. They brag about it. I got a poll, I'm 10 points up in Iowa. One of my enemies just puts out a poll, I'm 3 down. Joni Ernst called me, everyone's called me. They said, you're killing in Iowa. The farmers love me and I love them. But they came up, they just announced a fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election that I'm 3 points down. I'm not down in Iowa. I got $28 billion for the farmers. $28 billion. Nobody else would have gotten 10 cents. Joe would sleep. Do you think he thinks about the farmers? And you know who gave me the $28 billion for the farmers? China, because China screwed our farmers. And then they tell me I'm down in Iowa. I don't think so. And you know what? A good poll, Emerson, no friend of mine, they said that poll is wrong. Everybody said, why do they announce a poll that's highly skewed toward Democrats and liberals. Why do they do that? When you read it, they interviewed far more Democrats than they did Republicans. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? And I guess there's a law that they have to say that because they would have preferred not having to say that.
So you heard what Donald Trump had to say. He's not happy with what this poll, this new data that it just published. What are my thoughts on this? First of all, the poll, if you listen to the article that we just read, it had Trump leading, I believe, back in September. So they did have a favorable projection for Donald Trump with him being up 4 points. So it's not like as if this poll has been against Donald Trump the entire time. That's the one thing. The other thing to pay attention to is that this poll is an outlier, because I looked at other polls in Iowa that showed Donald Trump with a healthy lead in the majority of those polls. And this particular poll is the only one that is showing a different result. The reason, however, this poll is making so much noise is because of her predictions historically. She's generally, whenever she predicted a particular candidate for a given race, usually they end up outperforming her poll. So if she had a particular candidate winning, for example, by 5 points, they may go on to win by 7 points, right? She's been wrong a few times, but generally that's been the trend. So she has a history of doing this. And whenever she puts out a poll and other pollsters see that she's trending in a totally different direction, it causes them to self-correct. Now, what also could be a play here in terms of other people rating Trump so high in terms of the polling? It could be because of how he was underpolled when he first won in 2000. I think he won in 2016. If I'm no, was it 2000? Excuse me, in 2000 and yeah, I think it was 2016 or 2016. Going into that election day, a lot of polls had him losing a lot of those races when in reality he was winning. So it seems like they want to make a correction this year, and that could be the reason why you see him leading in so many polls. This could be another hypothesis there. I'm not saying that's the answer, but that's one thing there. So Trump seems to be genuinely upset with what this poll is saying. But to me, look, this is just one poll. This is just one state. Right now, he's still leading amongst all the other polls, and there's still a good likelihood that he will win Iowa. The reason this poll is significant beyond the fact that she's had some pretty shocking predictions that came true in the past is that, well, if Trump is losing in Iowa, which pretty much seemed to be a red state, then what other states could he potentially lose that we thought he was going to win? That's really the significance of this poll. Essentially, that's what it is. But ultimately, we're going to find out tomorrow. Because, folks, election day is tomorrow. It is here. This thing is for real and it's actually happening. And I cannot wait for it, because finally, we're going to see who's going to be the next president of the United States. So these are my thoughts on this. What I want to know from you guys is this. Whose side are you on with this issue? Are you on Donald Trump's side? Do you think that she has something against him? And maybe she's putting out information that may sway people? Or do you think that, no, she may be onto something and this could be a trend worth paying attention to going into election day? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section. And we'll catch you guys on the next show.